I'm Corbett Wall with DB Auction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, March the 18th, brought to you in part by EPRA Zero by Norbrook, a weatherproof pour-on approved for all ages and classes of beef and dairy cattle. Contact your local veterinarian for more information or visit norbrook.com. Had quite a showdown in the fed cattle arena this week, and your packers wanted to come in and get some cattle secured and to fill their needs, but they didn't want to tip their hand showing that they needed them. But likely they tipped their hand showing that they needed them early on Wednesday morning, increasing bids to 180 dressed in the north. And so if guys would have paid attention, that's a Wednesday, they showed that they needed the cattle. At the same time, you had other guys trying to save themselves, and they were taking bids for out front, maybe early part of May and things like that, or some basis deals that were advantageous for them, and most of them over $1.20, which is what we've kind of been looking for. But that just helps your packers with more captive supply and keeping that spot cash market kind of on the low. But they started out early in the morning, even like 7:30 in the morning, raising their bids to 180 and finally giving the 114 that we've been stuck on here for 6 weeks. But we had a lot of guys, wanting to just kind of hold back and let the market come to them if they could. But you had other guys that were antsy and wanting to jump at the market, and it was really a standoff there. Didn't end up trading a whole lot of cattle, but we did set the market. And again, the 114 is going to be your biggest price out there. But we had cattle selling on the online sale as high as 14 and a quarter, 114 and a half. We did have some 115, 115 and a quarter in the northern feedlot areas. We had the dress market go from 178 to 180 up to 180, 182, so that was a couple bucks higher there. But it was quite a standoff there, and we were about to see this thing break. If we could just get the feedlots to stick together a little bit more and hold the line a little bit more and try to get a little bit more on this spot market. But I tell you what, these packers are really, really good negotiators, and then they're holding this bang back as long as they possibly can. And we'll just have to see as we go forward here. We knew as we got into the second quarter of the year that our market-ready supplies on the show list were going to get lighter. But we've got to stick together. Just imagine if your packers were out willy-nilly trading independently of themselves, how the market could get wild. But they never do. I'm sure at times you get one packer, especially a regional packer, that really wants some cattle. They want to go in there and cream the cattle that they really want and maybe give 50 cents or $1 more, but they rarely do that. They pretty much stick together. They try to hold the line back, and in the end it helps them all. It's kind of like the young bull and the old bull. I mean, why get excited and run down there and make a big deal out of it? You can just be disciplined and sit back, and you're going to get all the cattle eventually anyway. But let's look at the board on Wednesday. April live cattle futures up $1.22, so we've got a 119.42 spot live cattle futures market, and we're still messing around down here basically at 114. So not only is that well under what we probably should be getting, but it is a big negative basis for the guys that are hedged, which is most guys, losing $5.50 whenever they get out of their hedges there, and that makes it even tougher. June up 57 cents at 122.02. You go on out from there, they were up a nickel to up 67 cents. Look at your feeder cattle futures. March feeder cattle up 35 cents at 136.92. You look at your April, that was up 132 at 144.65. Going out from there on your back months, your feeder cattle, they were down 47 cents. That was your farthest out traded month, to up 45, and that was the nearest buy after April there. But let's talk about your fat cattle market and see what actually did happen out there. On confirmed sales on Wednesday, Iowa had about 4,900 head from 114 to 115, so that'd be a buck higher. And on dress sales, $2 higher from 180 to 182. Nebraska, 6,400 head confirmed, likely more sales than that happened out there that they didn't get turned in, but 113 to 115 and a quarter, a lot of 114 there in Nebraska again. Dress sales were not as good as they were in Iowa, 179 to 180. Kansas, about 8,000 head, and that did include most of Consolidated Beef Producers' sales there in Kansas, but largely 114. There might have been one little deal at 113, but pretty much everything at 114. Texas, about 1,300 head from 114 to 114 and a half. Colorado even printed on Wednesday about 1,900 head, all at 114. Sioux Falls Regional Livestock Market, a fat cattle auction, and our fat cattle sales, although we don't have that very many in the Midwest and the Northern Plains, the ones we did have were kind of light this week, but about 1,600 head of slaughter cattle, that includes cows and things at Sioux Falls Regional and Worthing, but the fat cattle sold $2 to $5 higher with spots as much as $8 higher. Through the ring there in Sioux Falls Regional, 113.50 to 117, and that's on some cattle weighing as much as 1,600 pounds. Some of your natural cattle in smaller groups selling as high as 119. So the competitive bidding is what we need, guys, wherever we find it, whether we have to get a mandate for it or whether we bring them into some kind of an auction or something. But competitive bidding is where you get your highest prices. Box beef cutout values were mixed on Wednesday. Choice cuts $228.47, up $1.54. Selects down $1.18 at $217.59. Your slaughter is running behind because of some maintenance in your Northern Plains packers. 345,000 through Wednesday. That's down 18,000 from last week, down 20,000 from the same week a year ago. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on DV auction late in the day on Wednesday at 133.95, exactly what your latest CME cash feeder cattle index is, and we're late in the month here on a spot market month of March, which will be settling up here within just a few business days. But that 133.95 was up 70 cents from the end of the day on Tuesday, and we just had some active bidding out there. Some guys buying to take back to wheat or take to grass, and some cattle that were heavy enough to go into the index, but pretty active. And but this was a week when a lot of your bigger northern auctions were off. A lot of them go to every other week, or they have a special and then a light run or something, but a lot of your better premium type sales in the Northern Plains and the upper Midwest were not having sales this week, but most of those gains were seen in Southern Plains sales, and your biggest OKC West, El Reno, Oklahoma, 7,400 head altogether. They had close to 3,000 calves on Tuesday, so a little over 4,000 head of feeder cattle on Wednesday. And look at these quotes out of El Reno. Feeder steers $4 to $8 higher. Feeder heifers $3 to $6 higher. Your calves on Tuesday $2 to $5 higher, with some heifer calves as much as $10 higher. So we saw big time quotes out of there, and like I said, heard talk about El Reno there that traveled across the country. There was some interest there that had graze out wheat, which is a rarity. You're not seeing a lot of graze out wheat unless you own the wheat, because most of your guys, your farmers that rent it out, are going to make a crop out of it because the grain prices are the best they've been for several years here. But you had an interest come in there, had a lot of graze out wheat. He wanted to buy some bigger cattle, feeding type cattle, weighing in the 7s and the light 8s even, and that had come off wheat. Figured those cattle could go right back to the wheat and keep on gaining, and he got right in the mix with those guys that are trying to fill feeder orders, and it caused prices to be pretty high. How about some individual quotes around the circuit? South Central Regional Stockyards, Vienna, Missouri, the Patton family there, 56 head, 494 pound little stocker steers bring 183.50. That's the best quote we saw on light calves on Wednesday. How about Winter Livestock, Dodge City, Kansas, 63 head, 773 pound feeder steers at $142. Now that's getting pretty close to 800 pounds at $142. Got a quote out of Parsons Livestock Auction in Parsons, Kansas. 55 head, 884 pound steers. Now that's pushing 900 pounds at $131. Impressive quote, but the best quote that I saw anywhere. And your Zach Tran top quote for the day indeed come out of that hot sale there at OKC West, El Reno, Oklahoma. 86 head, 827 pound steers, $139.50. And that's your feeder flash for Thursday.